Thank you, everyone. I hope you had a really good pre-lunch session. We would like to make the post-lunch session equally interesting. So again, we are mixing it up with panels. One panel discussing evolution of partnerships with 3 portfolio companies that are in different stages of engagements with TDK, and we have a TDK member as well as part of the panel. And then there will be a session with Nicola with our senior leadership later. And then we have a demo session as well. And very importantly, we have a workshop, interactive workshop for exploring synergies where TDK and portfolio companies will be sitting together, and there are prepared questions, and there'll be a facilitator to answer. So all of that is coming up this afternoon. This panel is on discovery to delivery, building synergies from exploration to commercialization. As you know, most of our portfolio companies are early stage. Some are seed, some are Series A, a few are Series B. And they may be working in cutting-edge areas, and we usually have to do an exploration to figure out what synergies are possible. Chiaki, my colleague here, she does the initial part of that before it goes to IC. And so she already has built up that portfolio of potential engagements that are possible. But once it is approved by IC, then it comes to me and my team. And Thao is here, Dalton is here from my team, but I have 2 more team members, Janaki from Boston and Elena from London, who takes care of the European portfolios. So we then have an intro meeting and then start exploring. Along the journey, the exploration should lead to pilots, NREs, JDAs, and hopefully to a first to market or a commercial product. And that's what we are going to explore today. So thank you very much. Now, starting with Ning to Manfred, if you can take a minute to introduce yourself, your company, your technology, and your go-to-market.
Yeah, my name, Manfred Karasek. I'm leading the business division Magnetic Inductors, located in Heidenheim, Germany. Business division Magnetic Inductors is 2 areas. One is signal EMC, taking care for automotive and data bus systems. And the other one is power inductors, and this is now the major topic we are working on, inductors for AI and other topics.
Thank you, Manfred. Arun?
Hello, everyone. I'm Arun, founder CEO at Exponent Energy. We're based in Bangalore, India. We are building India's largest energy company for electric vehicles through a combination of our proprietary battery technology and the charging ecosystem that we're building around it. We think electric vehicles are great. If I take the battery and charging out of the equation, EVs are faster, they're cheaper, they last forever, they're sexier, they've got a lot more acceleration, they've got no maintenance issues. So why is everyone not electric today? It's all about energy, right? Where do I charge? How long will it take? Will my battery last? So we think ultra-fast charging, ultra-long battery life is key to electrifying the world, and especially India. So we build the world's fastest charging tech. We do 15-minute charging for buses and trucks through our 1.5 megawatt charging systems, and of course our proprietary battery packs. So thanks.
Thank you.
It's fantastic to be here. Thanks so much, Geetha, and really like to thank TDK for the investment and their continued support as we're building out Exponent.
Thank you so much.
All right, I'm Jeff Herman, CEO of Fabricate Labs. We've developed a new manufacturing process that takes electrochemistry that's been around for a very long time, scales it up into new applications through a combination of electroplating and display technology, and it enables some very high-performance parts in thermal management for data center applications, RF for SATCOM, and we're working with TDK on inductors where there's some really unique opportunities that the technology enables. But thank you guys for having me and appreciate the time.
Our local portfolio company from California. Ning?
Yeah, hello again, and glad to be here, and really thankful to the TDK team. The support is multidimensional, not only the funding and the connecting to the business unit and then also to the portfolio companies. We are based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a spin-off from Carnegie Mellon University and the APAI Cooler Chips program. So our product provides the best thermal interface material for AI chip cooling, and it goes beyond just chips and then telecommunication network, and then there's a lot of new applications where you're pushing into high power density. So we're there to serve all the markets that's needing us.
Thank you, Ning. So I'll start the questions with you. And you just mentioned that you are a spin-out of Carnegie Mellon University, and also a recent addition to the TDK Ventures portfolio. Interestingly, TDK was also a university spin-out based on material science more than 90 years ago, and continues to be steeped in material science to this day. This is where all of our innovations come from. So, talking about power, flagship GPUs now consume in excess of 1 kilowatt of power per chip in AI and HPC workloads. Hence, thermal management is not just critical, it becomes a bottleneck even for data center performance. So, I have 3 questions for you, so I'll walk through them one by one. Where are you seeing the strongest market pull today? Is it chip makers, is it hyperscalers, or is it cooling system integrators?
First I want to say I'm a material scientist by training, and actually I'm the 3rd generation material scientist in my family. So TDK is a well-known name in the materials academic world. So it's a great pleasure to come to this stage working with TDK. And I spent 18 years with Seagate Technology, a hard disk drive company, and then TDK has been every step of the journey when we push to higher area recording density. So back to the thermal cooling, and I think the pull is not just from one single customer. It's actually the whole ecosystem is pushing towards the direction. And I think Jensen Huang has made multiple comments on how the AI future is limited by power, by heat management. And yesterday, the semiconductor panel talked about the PoE on how to get to 1. Right now, we are at 1.5. So there's a roadmap for the next 10 years, going from like the primary loop coolings and then the secondary loop cooling, and then all the way to the stack level. We are experiencing very strong pull from customers, and ranging from semiconductors, hyperscalers, data center, AI server, OEM, ODM, and including cold plate companies. And so you can see that our approach for go-to-market is working with all the stakeholders. Like Nancy was mentioning this morning, right? So we need to work with all the stakeholders. And then a sustainability issue, it was never one company can accomplish that alone. So it needs support from the ecosystem.
So cooling challenges span every level of the stack, from chip to server to rack to the entire data center. What would it take to address this problem holistically, instead of, that is through the entire architecture, instead of having a fragmented approach to just chip and then build it up that way?
Yeah, I think with a lot of people here with engineering background, I'm using like the Pareto analysis, right? You always looking at what is the key issues. Like you start with the 80-20 rule, but then the Pareto is more you continuously looking at what are the challenges. So I think the industry, they have modeling, and then as mentioned, the power usage efficiency, which is the power goes into the data center versus the power go to the IT, go to the computing. So there's a lot of places that the energy is wasted unnecessarily because heat is not being managed most efficiently. So I think the different stakeholders in the system, some would own the primary loop, some own the secondary loop, and then some own the total performance. And for us, and we do need kind of more people to help to pitch us the impact of our technology to the data center. And then looking at it in a holistic way, and the total data center ownership, cost ownership, may not be the person really care about the most fundamental technology in there. But we hope through industry conference, and then also through the efforts of the hyperscalers and then from the chip companies, I think the message is coming across that people look at it, understanding where is the bottleneck. And then right now the bottleneck, it is thermal interface material between the chip and the cold plate. So we are right there to solve it.
Thank you. One quick question. So thermal bottlenecks also affect EVs and battery systems. I'm sure you know very well about this thing. So do you see any future crossover applications in this area?
Yeah, I think that AI data center is the most urgent issue to solve because the amount of energy the data center is consuming is 2 to 4% already last year. Like all the global electricity went into data center, but then the thermal management is a universal issue. So today we learned about the spaceship launch, and then it touches every kind of elements or the fabric of how the society operates depending on the technology. So AI data center is a great pitch market for us, but we are destined to support all industry segment. Right now, there's major telecommunication companies that they are pushing their design into the same level of high power density as the NVIDIA Blackwell chip is. And then, so there's I think multiple industry will have a common pinpoint that can be solved by a universal product like ours.
Thank you, Ning. I next want to come to you, Arun. So you're scaling from 3 to 4-wheelers in India. That's a significant step forward. I came across a LinkedIn post from Exponent that 50% of all energy-related consumption in transport is from trucks and buses. So that puts your work at the heart of EV transition, not just in cutting emissions, but also for India's energy security. To achieve this transition at scale, you do need a robust localized supply chain for batteries. That brings me to my next question to you. What, in your view, is needed to enable this, including any special considerations that should be taken into the manufacture of these batteries, because India is a hot country? And what scale of battery demand do you envision in the future?
Yeah, just to set some context, right? India has some of the world's largest commercial vehicle manufacturers today. India is the 4th largest economy, and it's just getting started. So the need for logistics and commercial vehicles is only going to go up. And the vehicles that India manufactures today is not just for the Indian market, it's also for the global market already. But third, we actually don't have any petroleum. We have zero petroleum, right? India today imports more than $150 billion worth of petroleum every year. It's the single largest import-export deficit. The single line item is just petroleum for vehicles. And like I said, almost $100 billion of that is just petroleum for commercial vehicles. Right? So if you look at globally, India's got one of the, I would say, most favorable policies to electrify this segment because of the energy security need along with the sustainability need. So while we started with 3-wheelers, our goal, it was the easiest market to prove. The goal is always to electrify large buses and trucks. So I think instead of talking about projections of how many gigawatt hour of cells, so clearly we will all get those projections wrong. The market is super large, and it will go electric. It has to go electric. It's just a matter of time. And like I earlier said, I think the vehicle is already there. The vehicle is great. It's the entire energy ecosystem that needs to be created. Unlike passenger cars, that probably is a large focus in, say, in India, in US, or say in Europe. These are, passenger cars are parked at home most of the time. They don't really need a great energy ecosystem. Probably doing public charging once in a few months when you're doing a road trip. Commercial vehicles are actually commercial assets. They're driving 18 hours a day minimum. Some of these vehicles actually do 24 hours a day. They need batteries that last really, really long at ridiculously low prices with an energy ecosystem that allows them to keep moving and never stopped, right? So we think that's the larger solution, and that's obviously it's a biased answer because that's what we're excited to build. And I think we look at energy. I think there are 4 layers to that. There's the cell, right? There's the BMS and the charging algorithms and how you manage these cells. That's sort of our secret sauce. There's the high power stack, how do you actually transfer all that energy from the grid to the battery, everything from contactors to rectifiers. And of course, there's a lot of heat that gets generated, so it's thermal management. Exponent doesn't make cells, so sort of fairly compatible and complementary to companies like ATL or Ampace, making these cells. But we do 2, 3, and 4. And I think we're already looking to collaborate across each of these layers, from contactors to high power rectifiers to sensors that we already use. Maybe the message I'd like to deliver is that you can't look at one energy ecosystem or one energy solution that works for the entire world for every category. There are going to be category-specific energy ecosystems being built. That's our strong view. What a car in the US needs and what a commercial vehicle in India needs are very different things. And such a large ecosystem, such a large problem cannot be created without strong local supply chains, especially in today's world where there's a lot of anxiety around if I'm going to get my next batch of shipments. So it just feels impossible for India to achieve these goals without a strong local partner. And we think companies like Ampace have the right to win. India has historically not been great in material science. It's got a lot of catching up to do. And we need $30 to $40 billion worth of cells every year to electrify just commercial vehicles. So someone's got to build it. And we also need to look at the cell needs very differently. I think what two-wheelers need, what three-wheelers need, what buses need, what trucks need, they're all very different. What like for example, prismatic LFP is really the large dominant form factor in India for a bunch of reasons. So we do think we should look at the Indian commercial vehicle space and put that very seriously on the roadmap because it's probably going to be one of the largest electric markets in the world.
Thank you. And could you touch very quickly upon cooling needs for your battery packs?
Oh yeah, when you go from 4-hour charging to 15-minute charging, just there's 16 times more current, but there's 200 plus times more heat. So we do this unique off-board cooling. So we're actually able to pump in coolant from the charger into the battery. We're able to pump in HVAC cooled coolant. So we're able to bring in liquid at 10 degrees Celsius C to be able to ensure our cells are always managed between 25 to 38 degrees Celsius in that sweet spot. India's at 45 degrees Celsius very often. You can't just use regular liquid cooling. And the other thing is, we realize commercial vehicles actually don't drive very fast. So, when they're driving, they don't generate any heat because you're doing like 0.25 C worth of discharge. But now suddenly when I'm charging, we're doing 4 C. So we said, why have this cooling system on the vehicle when you only need it while charging? So we sort of, again, it's also driven by price point pressures. And the other thing is, India is one of the hardest places to build EVs for, right? I think if you can build an EV that works in India at Indian price points, at Indian road conditions, at Indian grid conditions, they will really work anywhere else in the world. So beyond just the obvious economic value, I think you should look at India as probably and it's also a free market, right? So you should look at India as a very powerful sandbox to really be testing and refining technologies. A lot of markets globally can get lazier, so people can pay up more, so you don't need to innovate that as hard. And I think look at Exponent, open call to look at Exponent as your friendly sandbox partner to try out some crazy stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. Jeff, since we are on this hot topic of advanced cooling, I'd like to highlight Fabricate's 3D printing technology using electrochemistry and other material science, chemical chemistry-based technology. It offers you a lot of flexibility in the kind of designs that you can print and the kind of aspect ratios you can go to. You have already demonstrated direct-to-chip cooling, and you are actively collaborating with Vivin. You're also using this technology to look at other aspects like inductors, RF, antennae, etc. So it's a large number of markets you're looking at. If you could quickly tell us how you envision scaling these solutions for broader commercial adoption across these different sectors through your partnerships with corporations like TDK, but you are also partnering with others, especially since Fabricate is a platform technology.
Yeah. Partnerships are critical to how we've brought eCam to market, in that we've internally focused on making this new technology work and be as successful as possible. We have not been the experts in the end application for how the technology is applied. that's where the partners have been really influential and critical to us getting to where we are today, because they really set the roadmap for what our technology needs to achieve in order to enable these different market segments. And it spans from medical devices, where we've done demonstrations for very small surgical tools, all the way through the most advanced semiconductor packaging applications. And there's no way we can be experts in all these different market verticals, but we've been able to show how this fundamental shift in making these parts could benefit their application. And the partners have been very willing to come and collaborate and show us, if you can do these 2 or 3 things, here's what's important. If you do them, this technology will make an impactful difference in our market. And it's really been our approach to expanding the capabilities of the technology is, even if we want to do it for technical reasons, we want partners in market verticals to validate that that additional capability is valuable before we invest the time into making it possible through our manufacturing process. And it spans from the resolution of the system, through the materials, to the properties of those materials, to the substrates that we can interface with. All those have been influenced and driven by our partners in market.
Thank you. So that actually brings me to you for the partnerships. So investment in Fabricate Labs, I'm told, because I wasn't here at the time, came from a request from TG and Process Innovation Center to explore 3D metal printing, because we had at that time invested in one 3D printing company, Origin, yeah. So this joint activity is now in its 4th year. And from a corporate partnership perspective, you and your team have demonstrated remarkable leadership and an innovation mindset in envisioning how the partnership can be initiated, how it can be grown together, overcome challenges, and it's an early stage startup, so you've also guided along the way. This has resulted in 2 JDAs and 1 NRE, and there is, most importantly, a pathway for these inductors to be in a TDK roadmap.
Correct.
Can you please walk us through how you and your team accomplished this?
Yeah, as you already said, so we are already, so even some years before we met Fabricate Labs, we had an innovation workshop, and we were thinking 3D technology is a little bit the future. So we were already scanning the market about capable companies, and via our Process Innovation Center in Deutsch-Lenzberg, we get in contact with Fabricate Labs. At the very beginning, we were a bit skeptical because we also have some, not the best experience with this 3D printing. We got in contact with the guys from Fabricate Labs. At the very beginning, was a very good atmosphere. And after a few discussions, we got the feeling this could be really a good technology for our products. That was the first step, to get confidence. Second step, we have to structure. Because without a structure, this will not work. Each party has to know what is expected, what are the requirements, also to measure what are the results. So at the very beginning, we already structured this development in 3 phases. 1 phase, proof of concept. 2nd phase, pre-industrial. And finally, what was the hope at that time? Now it seems to be close, also in the direction of pilot line and series production. The technical specification is, as usual, quite important, but we also put quite a long time to make it to fix it in the JDAs. On one hand, to make clear what is foreground IP, what is background IP, what belongs to Fabricate Labs, what is our IP. Also, this is quite important that this is very clear for both parties. In the negotiations, this was one of the hardest point of the discussions, you can believe me. But also the commercial things, what is going on, and also the 3 phases I explained, you also need some kind of a defined exit point. For sure, as you can see, we have the 3 phases, but at the very beginning, no one could know if it really comes to the very end. or we have to say thank you and goodbye because of several problems we have. So this, we fixed all the topics in this JDAs, and then we started with the product. And I think this is also one of the very important topics, not just to say, okay, interesting technology, I can go maybe for this, that, or the next. So we had this idea of a product, inductor. Unfortunately, this is not the complete inductor, this is just the front end. We have to do the back end with all the magnetic stuff. But what was important for us, to define exactly what are the, let's say, the limits, the boundaries for this technology. And for this, at the very first step, we defined a very tiny and small inductor to challenge the guys with high resolution, with how we had several discussions about shorts and opens and so on. And I think this was the right way that we started with some kind of challenging. As well as you can see in this overview, we started in 21. The first phase ended in 23. In between, there was a lot of discussions, there was a lot of trials, and finally, also our target coming from this single part, going at least in some more parts in one print. That was the first step of the proof of concept. Once we saw that is really working, so we went to the next topic. Next topic was not only is it feasible, the question is it feasible for mass production? For mass production, for sure, topics like costs and what could be the development is important, but also quality. So we are targeting in this picture in the right upper area. This print, this is 1,300 inductors. So if 10 or 20 inductors are wrong on this print, this is not good, and we have a problem. So we spent a lot of time to evaluate how we could enable the right quality, how we can detect failures. If there is a failure in one of the inductors, how we can mark this inductor that we cannot use it later on. So this was a very important part. Next topic is also to scale up from the 4 or 8 inductors on a print to this 1,300 prints, inductors on one print. So also to really to get not only a feeling, a measurable and really based on facts to see, yes, in principle, this is possible. For sure, that doesn't mean this is everything is now fixed and everything is okay. For this, we are now targeting the next step. So we want to go really to products based on a production on a pilot line. So this will be the next step. And up to now, really, it worked very well together with the guys from Fabricate Labs. Also, thank you for that. And yeah, so we are really confident that we finally can be engaged in real customer projects in near future, sampling to some customers. And this technology will bring us, especially also for the AI inductors, in a very, very favorable position, because this inductors is not just an inductor with some coil. So we have a lot of lateral supporting pins and so on. And to do with this with a standard technology, assembling technology, this is nearly impossible. So with this technology, we really have a big hope that we could support customers with solutions more or less impossible with standard technologies.
Thank you, Manfred. And you also mentioned that you are on bi-monthly calls.
Yes,
with them.
this is also one of the very important topics. You can see we have started 2021. We have now nearly end of 2025. We really have, since that time we started with the JDA, we have every 2 weeks we have a meeting with the guys. And I think this is also important for both. On one side, everybody can see this is really serious. This is not just a nice technical topic we would like to follow. So this is really serious. And it also enables us a very good relationship. Also in technical discussions, it's quite important that we talk in the same language.
Thank you. Jeff, would you like to add something to from your perspective, from a startup's perspective?
Yeah, this evolution is really what drove the success in our business, right? If we didn't have Manfred as a partner pushing us to these very high standards, when we started engaging back in 2021, what he was asking for, we thought it's impossible, but if we try and we get there, then any other application will be successful in, because these inductors are extremely high volume. Everyone needs to be perfect. The tolerances are extremely tight. But it pushed us and gave us a goal to work towards. If we knew we could deliver for Manfred, many of the other applications we're targeting would be a cakewalk. So for us, it was always this goal for us to chase and have something to measure ourselves against. So the ability to measure our performance and how we're trending to get to the ultimate goal was very critical for our success. So it was a very beneficial program for us as well. And outside of the revenue, and it just really pushed the technical teams to strive to do better and better and get to higher levels of quality and consistency. And without that partner, I don't know if we would be where we are today, for sure.
It's a marriage made in heaven. You're also collaborating with ECBC teams in Japan. So what role can established corporations like TDK play in startups being able to scale the technology?
Yeah, it becomes critical for us to understand what the real world requirements for these end applications are. It's easy for us in our head to think, oh, this technology can have these deficiencies, but it'll work out in the end. We'll figure it out later. If we don't understand what the environment that the equipment needs to be in and the volumes and the economics that need to be achieved for it to be viable technology, it really can distort the direction of the company, and you might end in a situation where you've developed a very nice technology that works for all your internal demos, but when you take it to the real world and you try to do a real customer part, it is not nearly as successful as what you've been able to demonstrate internally. So working with the Heidenheim group and the Japanese teams have helped us because they have different objectives, they have different goals, but they've really held us accountable to actually develop a technology that can scale and meet these very high volume applications. And without that, I think we would have probably ended up in a different place that would not have been as compelling. And we really wanted to focus this, if we're going to do this technology, we wanted to address high volume manufacturing. And inductors specifically are just a great place to, if you can make that work, you can make pretty much anything else work. So they're very important. We have similar partnerships in semiconductor and in thermal. We take all that information, we see where the overlap of requirements are, and we use that as our guiding principles in our roadmap and where we make investments in the technology to try to make this as much of a platform as possible. So the same piece of equipment can address the inductor opportunity, can address the thermal opportunity, the RF opportunities, and give us the biggest opportunity across the market.
And one other thing I've learned from sitting in meetings both with Manfred's team and you as well as with the Japan team is that the best practices and the lessons that you have learned with one team, both of you are passing it to the other so the development goes faster, and that's really great. Staying on the topic of collaborations, Arun, I want to come to you. You have a really unique collaboration with TDK's Tech and IP. Hashima-san is here. It's on battery cell simulation and analysis. You have called it a moonshot. It's also unique in that Exponent will be paying TDK for the services. So the Evaluation and Analysis Center that's part of Tech and IP, so Global R&D for TDK, usually has, they have all these very high-end equipment, but they used to be used mainly for analysis for TDK internal business groups. And they went one step further when you put the idea together for them. I don't know how the reception was in Japan, but they really took up the opportunity, and now they are so very excited to take it to the next level. Can you explain what value this brings to you?
Yeah, the upside is very clear. When you look at rate of innovation, you're always limited by validation. Ideas are easy. It's how do you validate them. And if you look at batteries and cells, you have to actually go through cycles of testing. It takes a lot of time, right? And if you look at basic aluminum, you have something like an SN curve. So for some level of stress, what sort of durability cycles are you going to get? You just don't know that about batteries. And a lot of our secret sauce is in the algorithms. And today we can try X amount of permutations and combinations, and we actually take 6 to 9 months to validate some of these changes. We ask ourselves, how do you just string that? How do we sort of make, sort of brute force, create millions of permutations and combinations of our algorithms? I get instantaneous feedback. But for that, we really need to understand the material science, and we needed to understand how cells were going to react when you change current profiles, when you change voltage profiles. And when I think in our visit to Japan, we realized that EAC is a team that really understands this at depth. So the upside was clear. We just didn't know if this is going to work. So we called it a moonshot. And I think we've historically taken moonshot. As a startup, we're very good at taking moonshots within your team because you're not afraid to fail. But I think this was the first time we said, let's take a moonshot together with an external log. And I think it's also the first time that that EAC is doing it for a non-TDK organization. So I think when
and
Nicola,
out of Japan.
out of
startup,
Japan,
yes.
right? And so when Nicola talks about equal win, I think it also requires teams to equally get out of their comfort zone to sort of find that collaboration. And I think we're just so excited that, and Hashima-san, I'd really like to thank you for your team's support on this, for that they've gone way out of the comfort zone to accommodate our crazy requests. Like I said, like the most innovations, this chance of success is never guaranteed, but we can really try hard to maximize the probability. So the upside is clear, and it's not just I think this program, but there's so many other. Like earlier we were talking about contactors and what we can do there. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to collaborate. And then for our teams, we're trying to get them to be comfortable to take moonshots with a company like TDK. It's the first time we are learning to do it as well. Because if you learn how to do this, there's so much more. We've done less than 1% of what we want to do. And we can't really build out the depth in every system. So we really need someone like TDK backing us technically and for the next many years.
Thank you. Ning, very quickly, your discussions with TDK are now at a very exploratory stage. We hope that they will all turn into much deeper partnerships in time. TDK has expertise in many areas that will benefit where you want to go, especially in roll-to-roll technologies. And you've experienced both sides of the table, right? Right now you are at the startup, earlier you were at a large corporation. So if you can tell, and this will benefit our TDK teams as well, what enables a successful partnership in one sentence?
Yeah, I think the startup always inspired into growing into a large corporation in leadership role in the industry. And then large company always look at small startup for innovation, agility. So we are complementary to each other. I think the most important thing is having the trust, mutual respect, and consensus on the first principle, and then have consensus on the end of the goal. And then I think then the rest will be history.
Thank you. And Manfred, if you can wrap up one sentence about best practices for partnerships.
Best practices for partnerships, I already mentioned. Clear target in the technical topics, clear target in the contractual topics, make it clear. Then what is also mentioned several times, equal wins. I nearly said win-win, but equal wins is a better expression, really. So I think this is the only way that everybody trusts in each other. Follow-up is a very important topic, in my opinion. Also, Joe in the morning said patience. Not everything is working in the first moment. And as a very last thing, confidence and trust. Yes. If you lose the confidence, forget it. If you don't trust in your partner, forget it.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we are not able to take questions, but let's give a round of applause to our participants. Thank you.